Welcome SAO survivors! With summer fast approaching in just 2 weeks and no Alicization Lycoris news, this week we have things like Progressive Volume 8's release, Sister's Prayer Manga Chapter 2 getting a standalone release, Sword Art Online Variant Showdown Closed Beta getting delayed and changed in its nature, among some other things like the cleaned and colored versions of the Sword Art Online Progressive Aria Starless Night movie Blu-ray limited edition bonus illustrations. It's me Gamerturk and welcome to This Week in SAO for all your weekly SAO news. And this week's twist is brought to you by our sponsor, The Last Defender. The Last Defender is an upcoming survival defense strategy game for PC from Basement Games, where you can team up with up to 3 friends to defend your colony from wild and aggressive alien life to ensure the survival of humanity. However, as you grow your colony with more intricate defenses, collect resources to craft more weapons and armor, you'll soon realize that this isn't one of your typical wave defense games. The Last Defender is powered by the Darwin AI, a genetic AI system that learns your weaknesses through its most successful spawns, which means you better get creative. The longest surviving enemies will become the baseline for the next generation to exploit your previous weaknesses unless you patch them up, and thus no game session will ever be the same. Its story told through animated comic art, The Last Defender is a unique approach to wave defense where you'll need to strategize against a smart and evolving horde of enemies to survive. Click the link in the description to check out the Kickstarter for The Last Defender and head over to their Steam page to wishlist in order to be notified when it's available for early access. Now, starting our news with the book release. We've been talking about this for the pretty much over a month now because of the 1-week delays that constantly happened a while back. But Sword Art Online Progressive 8, the second half of the 7th floor story, Rhapsody of Crimson Heat, is officially getting released tomorrow, June 7. While that is the official release, I know plenty of you got it early, no idea what has happened with this book, but the release schedule has been all over the place despite the official release constantly getting delayed. But if you want to get the book, the Amazon and Book Depository affiliate links are going to be down below. I'm just going to keep this short because we've been talking about this for the past month now. Second news in our agenda, Sword Art Online Progressive Aria Starless Night Blu-ray release bonus illustrations have been, well, re-revealed with their colored versions, finally. And a huge thanks to Jack the Magician on Twitter for cleaning out the sample marker so you can enjoy the illustrations completely. Here they are, but make sure to go ahead and check their Twitter and share your love with them. Moving over to manga news, Sister's Prayer, the prologue story for Mother's Rosario side story, manga adaptation, Chapter 2 has been released on Comic Walker, sorry that's a mouthful, has been released on Comic Walker as a standalone chapter release, which was earlier released as part of the monthly Dengeki Daio magazine along with R.E. Aincrad. Kind of a shame, R.E. Aincrad is not getting this kind of attention at all. It's only getting volume releases after a certain while, not standalone releases on Comic Walker. No idea what's happening with that. But the news is Sister's Prayer manga adaptation chapter 2 released on Comic Walker. We have not yet fan translated it, so that is all the news there is for now. June 5th was, of course, Argo's birthday. With a birthday, as usual, we got gem bonuses in Integral Factor and Unleash Blading. That was only for today, so if you're watching this now, you probably missed it. But what you didn't miss is a special birthday dungeon for Argo, as usual, in Integral Factor for 500 more gems, along with the new birthday skills available again in Integral Factor for Argo's birthday as a banner. Unleash Blading has a special purchasable Argo birthday illustration that you shouldn't purchase because it is, as always, locked to your device. You can't even save it or use wherever you want. It's basically a license to change your home screen for the game. It's a scam. It has always been a scam. But we are continuing with the sad news. Sword Art Online Variant Showdown, the new upcoming 3D memory defrag. I call it the 3D memory defrag just to give you an idea. The closed beta for it was scheduled for June 10, however, it has been delayed. The developers have decided to delay the beta and change the structure of the beta period itself to allow a higher level of stability during the closed beta. The participants have now been separated into 2 groups, or will be separated into 2 groups, and you will be let know in which group you find yourself in. So keep checking your inbox as well as the spam inbox, because that's where it usually lands, and they will tell you when things are decided, when the beta period for your specific group is going to take place. There's of course going to be 2 closed beta periods now, because we got 2 separate groups and they don't want to layer them on top of each other from what I'm understanding. So they will let you know all the specific information that you're gonna need to participate in the beta if you have been chosen before. The device specs remain unchanged, so that is Android 9 with 4 GB of RAM or higher, or on the iOS Apple side of things, you're gonna need an iPhone XS or more recent, running iOS 13 or more recent with 4 GB of RAM or higher. They have also shared in their developer post that they aim to lower these specs for the final release so more people can enjoy the game when it officially releases. On the Alicization Lycoris side, I mentioned it at the very beginning of this video, but we got 2 weeks left until the official end of spring, which the paid DLC 2 was scheduled for. We still have absolutely zero news, an entirely complete and oppressing silence from the developers, including Futami or Bandai Namco as the publisher. No idea what's happening, but with Variant Showdown closed beta getting delayed to an unspecified time, people are joking about, especially the Japanese fan bases, joking about how they should use this opportunity to share some Alicization Lycoris news to fill the void, but doesn't seem like that's gonna happen. It's a curious thing that's happening on the Alicization Lycoris side of things. It reminds me of those bad times where we had to wait for Hollow Realization DLCs, where it was complete radio silence, especially on the Western localization side of things. But this isn't even Western localization. This is a worldwide release that literally has no info even in Japan. We're still waiting, and I will let you know once we have something at the very least. Sword Art Online Integral Factor has absolutely no news aside from the Argo news we mentioned in the birthday corner. There's of course the weekly guaranteed order. This week was Rapiers. It's ending on Wednesday during the weekly reset, or rather maintenance period. So if you're looking for Rapiers, this is your chance. Grab them, give it to Koharu, because Koharu has to use Rapiers because that's cool. But since we have no news on Integral Factor, let's have a look at the revenue and compare it a bit to Unleashed Blading. This is something I wanted to do relatively regularly on the channel as a separate video. Not sure how much people are interested in this, but Integral Factor continues to remain consistent with its revenue and popularity across the crowds, whereas Unleashed Blading, they continue to drop in both revenue and popularity quite consistently, I might add. You know, Unleashed Blading is also consistent, it's just consistently dropping, which is, as I always say on Twitter, I actually do these monthly on Twitter as a single thread. Unleashed Blading, the more recent game, the game that has much more budget going into it, with Moon Cradle anime scenes, with incredible amounts of promotion and collaboration with other games, it has about 30% less revenue than Integral Factor at this point. A game that is quite old in comparison. So again, it continues to be interesting where things go, whether Unleashed Blading can eventually recover or not. You know, I'm gonna be carefully watching what happens in this month, June, as well, because we have started, kinda sorta started the Moon Cradle sequel story with the Black Emperors. But again, so far a couple days into June, where Unleashed Blading had a new event and a new banner, whereas Integral Factor is having absolutely nothing. Integral Factor still continues to have a higher revenue since the beginning of the month. It's not something to take all that seriously, because again, we're just 6 days in, but this has been a consistent comparison and it's not looking well for Unleashed Blading. But we spoke about Unleashed Blading quite a lot already in that comparison. The news is new Ordinal Battle Season has launched earlier last week, so that is more diamonds and more rewards for you to grab. However, what may interest you is a wave of false bans on some accounts. I'm gonna read this right here. The developers have falsely banned some accounts that were later proven to not conduct any illegal activity. Those people affected have been unbanned, so if you're affected by this, you can just log back into the game. The quite sad and pitiful news is your compensation for not being able to access the game and being falsely banned from your entire effort that's been put into the game for 1 or over 2 years. It's just a single AP recovery bread. I find that quite hilarious. I think it's really out of touch, you know, at least something minuscule like 25 gems was would have been appropriate for such a terrible mistake done by the developers, but what can you do? It's Unleash Blading is Unleash Blading. Now, if you were affected by this, you were likely thrown away from your guild as well during your banning period, and if you have been booted from the guild, you need to shoot a message to customer support at Bandai Namco before June 12th, and they will see what they can do. They are not automatically reinstating people. I am not sure why, but I guess it's because the booted people may have been already replaced in certain guilds, so it's a more case-by-case situation. That's my imagination at least. But that's it for this week in SAO. You know, quite the light news week in comparison. Still waiting on those Alicization Lycoris news. When we're gonna get it, God knows at this point. But I am streaming a lot of Fire Emblem 3 houses these days, so if you're interested, do check it out. It's usually in the evening time, in European time that is. And if you're interested, I'd love to see you guys there. It's, you know, having someone to chat with, that is always nice. You can ask about anything and I will answer, whether it's SAO, Sonic or anything else. I'm right there for you. But for more SAO news, you're gonna have to come back later next week. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe, hit the bell icon specifically. A huge thanks to my patrons and channel members as usual, and I will see you all next week. Until then, stay cool.